What's going on, FutureDDS family? We'd like to take a moment to recognize our sponsors for today's video, DAT Booster. DAT Booster is a DAT prep platform which we've seen help plenty of students improve their scores and actually gain acceptance into dental school. We've done multiple giveaways in the past for this platform, and it's actually come full circle to the point where Nick has actually used the program to improve his scores, and he's actually applying for dental school right now. So I want to give him a moment to explain a little bit about his journey, his process using the program, as well as, give us a little bit more feedback about the platform himself.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I absolutely love DAT Booster. I was studying for the DAT for over a year. So I've seen a lot of question banks, and DAT Booster by far just seemed to be the most up to date. And I'll give you guys an example. When I was taking the biology section on my real DAT, I saw 15 questions word for word from DAT Booster. And I know I wouldn't have been able to get a 30 on the bio section without them. And I ultimately got a 27 academic average. So that's been a huge help in applying to dental schools. I highly recommend them to any pre-dent considering using their program.
So another great thing about DAT Booster is the fact that they understand that you all are actual students, right? They know you have a lot to pay for, being with applications and the actual DAT exam itself. And so what they do is they give you access to their platform to take one free test just to make sure that you like it and it's a good fit for you. Here at FutureDDS, we always preach on preparation, and we believe that the DAT Booster program is great prep for your DAT exam. If you all are interested and want some more information, go ahead and click the link in our description below. Now let's get back to the video.
Hey everybody, my name is Jillian. I'm a current DS1 at the University of Colorado School of Dental Medicine on the Anschutz Medical Campus. I'm so excited to be getting to do this, to share with you guys about my journey, what it's like to be a student here at the University of Colorado, and just provide whatever helpful information I can for those of you who are getting ready to apply to dental schools, thinking about maybe going into dentistry. So I'm just so excited to be doing this. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am actually from Colorado, so I got to stay in state for dental school, and CU was my dream school, my #1 choice, so I'm just so thrilled to be here. I was actually born in New Jersey, but moved here with my family when I was about 2 years old, so for the last 23 years, Colorado has been home, other than undergrad, of course. And for undergrad, I actually attended California Polytechnic State University, or Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo, California. Just the best experience. I absolutely love San Luis Obispo. I love Cal Poly, miss it all the time. But when I was there, I took a little bit of a different route than a lot of pre-dental students, and I earned a degree, a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and concentrated in accounting. So I chose to do that just because I knew that I would get all the science stuff that I needed through prereqs, which I could still do while doing a business degree. And I knew that a lot of that stuff was going to be driven home so much in dental school, which it is. We take a lot of hard sciences, especially first semester. So I wasn't worried about not having enough of that, I guess. But I always knew I wanted to own a practice. So having that business background to me was so important, especially accounting, just being able to understand books, all that kind of stuff is, I feel like I've really benefited from it. Extracurriculars and clubs I was involved in while I was at Cal Poly, I really was focused on mentorship while I was going to school there. So I worked as a peer mentor for the College of Business at Cal Poly. I was also a volunteer first-year mentor for the first-year students at Cal Poly. I also held a role as a hiring lead, and then also as a trainer, both within the first-year program for training the mentors and training the new hires for the full peer mentor program. Mentoring is just one of my big passions, and I feel as though that really impacted my journey into becoming a dental student and what lies ahead, because a lot of what we are going to be doing as dentists and practitioners is guiding people through sometimes big decisions about their oral health, about the route they need to take, about what they should do to maintain or improve their whole body health all through their mouth. So I think mentorship has been just such a wonderful thing to be a part of and a wonderful skill to build as I walk into this next phase of life of working to become a doctor and a practitioner. I was also on the D1 volleyball team at Cal Poly my first quarter. I chose to stop playing after that first season just because it wasn't quite my cup of tea, and I had my plate full with school, just in terms of taking a full degree in business and then also having to get all my prerequisites done. We're on the quarter system at Cal Poly, so it was really fast paced. So I just felt as though that one season was a wonderful experience. I learned so much, but I was ready to just dive into school and mentorship. Fun fact about me, I guess I've got two. So fun fact about me, just in terms of things I like to do, hobbies, fun things. I do calligraphy, so that's kind of fun, but not with traditional calligraphy pens. I actually really want to try to master that next, but just freehand. And another fun fact is I actually used to have a hole in my femur. So I surprise a lot of people when I say that. I'm fully healed now. My surgeon was amazing and was able to regrow my bone, but not many people can say they used to have a hole in their femur. So, but yeah, I'm just so excited to get to share more with you guys. I'll probably do so through the next couple of days here. And just as I'm going through labs and stuff, I had operative lab today. We were working on some restorations. So it's a little bit busy right now, but you guys will kind of get to see where I'm hopping around the next couple of days while I answer these questions. The next question I was asked to answer was what got me interested in dentistry. Quite honestly, I don't remember a time when I didn't want to be a dentist. I actually had to think about this when I was really getting ready to start applications and my personal statement. But it was actually kind of funny. I came home one summer and went through my memory box that my parents keep, and I found a piece of paper, an about me sheet from preschool, so I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, and on that sheet I had said, when I grow up I want to be a dentist. So the start of that, I could not tell you where that came from, just from the get-go wanting to be a dentist. I think it's kind of funny that it went that far back, but I think that my own practitioners just in general were what made such a difference. I know that some people have horrific experiences that make them scared of the dentist, or maybe a dentist that just didn't care enough, but that could not be further from the truth. For me and just my experiences, I had the best dentist growing up, just like really cared about me and my family. So just having people who cared that much about me more than just me being a patient was the absolute best. And I think I always wanted to be able to be that for someone. And I think my personal also experience with ortho and having braces and just the significant change that made for me and my confidence and my self-worth, and having an orthodontist who didn't just focus on changing my smile, but him and his ortho assistants just caring so much about me on a more personal level and checking in on me all the time about how I was doing just personally, how I was handling some of the instances that would happen at school, being bullied, what have you. That my dental practitioners were so consistently people who cared and people who were making an active difference in my life. I also had an awesome opportunity to participate at age 11 in a Careers in Dentistry Explorer post that was put on by Colorado Dental Association, and I was the youngest person in the group by about 5 years. So I got to go for about, I think it was 8 months, every single month, and hear from dentists that were just on the cutting edge of technology, who were so well known in the state for what they were doing, and getting to just experience dentistry so fully at such a young age. I think all of those were remarkable experiences for me that really reaffirmed this random 3-year-old's dream to be a dentist. Next question is about the DAT, just how I approached it. So First of all, my mentality with the DAT was, this is my job. I had originally assumed that I would just study for the DAT, you know, during my junior year. I would take it, I would apply summer after my junior year, before senior year, and I'd just roll into dental school after undergrad. That did not end up being the case, because I just realized that in order to do as good as I wanted to do, and knowing myself, that I needed to be fully invested in just studying for the DAT. And there were some classes that I hadn't taken yet that ended up really benefiting me. My senior year, I ended up adding anatomy and physiology, and I think that was super helpful to have that. And I was also just finishing things up my junior year. I did the bulk of my prerequisites my sophomore and junior year. And I don't think that for me, studying for the DAT without having taken those courses first would have made much sense. And I think I probably would have had to study for much longer if I had done it that way. In terms of how I studied and my resources, I am through and through a supporter of DAT Bootcamp. I pretty much fully relied on DAT Bootcamp for studying. I did end up finding an Anki deck for bio, which was huge. I did take the DAT twice, so I found this Anki deck after the first time, and used it and was committed to doing the deck every single day, doing whatever cards were due, whatever cards were new, every single day. There was no exception to that. So that's probably one of my biggest tips, actually, is with bio, because it's so vast. You have to dedicate kind of every single day to working out, whether it's flashcards that you make personally, or whether you find a similar Anki deck. I think that's something that for me made such a difference, especially the second time around. Bio was actually the reason I retook the DAT. That was the only score I really struggled with the first time. So DAT Bootcamp, love it, highly recommend it. Like, could not recommend it enough. Doing the PAT practice every single day, playing the PAT game every single day was also huge. I also actually ended up signing up for a service called IQ. So I grew up with a tracking problem. I went to vision therapy, and IQ was something that my eye doctor recommended for me when I was getting ready to take the ACTs. It helps with your ability to remember things. It helps with your reading comprehension and reading speed. So that's probably tip number 2 that I don't think anybody would think about, is this service called IQ, literally EYEQ.com. So recommend getting onto that, just because I think overall it's just going to make you better as a student, and just being able to get through content a little bit faster, comprehend it, which helps with reading comprehension, and then also just upping your cognition, your ability to remember and retain information. I studied, I think, both times for 3 months, probably a little bit more. My second time, I ended up having to cancel my date because of COVID, so that extended me a bit, and I'd already started taking my practice tests when that happened. So I took a break, a week off, and then I got back into it. I think the 3 months, 3+ months was a good amount of time for me. And the awesome thing about DAT Bootcamp is that they have different schedules that you can go off of, and then you can just tailor them to yourself, which is ultimately what I ended up doing. I think the last tip I can have is really kind of what I said at the beginning. I think taking the DAT as your job is so important. I moved home, and that's what I was doing. I wasn't working a job. I'm also very fortunate though. So my parents are so supportive. I have them to fall back on, or had them to fall back on through that process. So that's definitely not something that everybody can do. But if you have the ability to do so, I think really treat this like your job. Hi there, so I just got back from campus. I'm back at my apartment. I had a pretty busy day today. We had class from 8 to 10, and then 10 to 12, and then an exam from 1 to 2, and then I actually got the opportunity to assist for the very first time, which was really cool. But now that I'm back home, I thought I would jump on and start answering a couple more of the questions. So the next question was regarding what set me apart on my application. Honestly, I think I was pretty unique in how long I've wanted to be a dentist and showing interest in dentistry just really early in general with that Careers in Dentistry Explorer post I mentioned earlier. Also, I think having a business degree instead of a science degree made a pretty big difference because, like I said, not many people have something other than a science-based degree when they're coming into dental school. But in terms of just CU itself, for me, being an in-state student obviously has its advantages, but I definitely was showing interest early on. I didn't do pre-dental days, but I did actually tour early on in college, and then made sure to mention that on my application. And actually the person who gave the tour is still in the admissions office now, so she remembered me from doing that tour pretty early on. Yeah, I think just like getting your face in front of the admissions and faculty at whatever schools you're really interested in. I mainly did that with CU because this was my #1 choice, but I went and paid visits to UOP, UMKC, a couple others as well that I was able to, just to make it clear to those schools I was serious about wanting to go there, and just establishing those early connections. Okay, so the next question is about my interview day. So for my CU interview, I applied pretty much right at the beginning of the cycle, and I got my invitation for interview at the beginning of October. So I had to wait a little bit for that interview offer, but for me, obviously my cycle was still during COVID, so I was not in person for this interview. It was all on Zoom, and it happened in 2 parts. So before you could do the actual interviews with faculty, you had to attend an information session that included a Q&A with a current student panel, and then also we had to do a session where we were given a prompt, and then we had to type a response to it and then email and submit it to the admissions office at CU. So that all had to happen before the actual interviews with faculty. Interview day with faculty couldn't have lasted more than a couple hours. You just had 2 interviews. I want to say they were probably like 25 to 30 minutes each. And I personally really loved this interview. It's a partially closed file, so they know some things about you, but most of the CU interview experience is really just social and getting to know the faculty, them getting to know you. Obviously, there's always going to be some faculty that want to do those like harder questions, want to be a little bit more formal. I had one that was a little more formal, and then I had one that was just like so much fun. She was amazing. She was asking really good questions, and obviously questions you'd kind of expect to be asked in an interview. But we just like clicked so well, and it was just like such a great experience. So overall, I thought the style was awesome. It wasn't as scary as I would have thought it would have been. And it definitely, compared to what I've heard about interview experiences for other people at other schools, it was just so nice. Like, you really got to know how the faculty are and how much they care and how much they love being here. And I feel like they got to really know a different side of me, not just what I could show them on paper. I came out of the interview feeling like there was no way I wasn't getting into CU. So it was just such a good experience. And I truly couldn't have asked for a better interview experience at CU. So continuing with the theme of interviewing, I think the biggest tip I could give you is practicing. And practicing all different types of interview. I think before you even get to practicing is looking at the schools you're applying to and if you can, figuring out what their interview style looks like, because not every interview is just going to be 2 interviews with faculty. I've heard about University of Michigan having like a very different and more rigorous kind of interview process. So definitely just making sure that you know what kind of interview situation you're walking into first and foremost. But then that practice aspect is going to be key, and you have to be smart about how you're practicing. You don't want to just memorize a bunch of answers to the point where when you're delivering it, it doesn't sound like you're passionate, it doesn't sound like you, it just sounds robotic. You want to be prepared enough that you have some examples that you're going to be like your go-to for certain kinds of answers, but they need to sound authentic, and they need to sound like, seriously, like you're just having a conversation, not like you are a robot. So what I did for preparing and what I recommend is I practice interviewing with my dentist, who fortunately knew a recent graduate from CU. So he got him on the phone with us while we were there, and he was giving me pointers from what he remembered about the CU process and just what he knew about CU faculty, and the kinds of things that they look for. I practiced interviewing with my application advisor, and she went a lot harder on me, did the more hard-driven kind of questioning, so I was prepared. And honestly, when I practiced with her, I walked away feeling like crap, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't prepared enough. And it kind of fueled me to then go online and look up like the top 100 most common interview questions. And I just sat with my mom and would go through a bunch of them for like a couple of nights. And she would help give me pointers on where I could fix, how I sounded, how was my delivery, helping me kind of even brainstorm where certain stories would be a better fit for certain types of questions, which that is so important to help you be able to think on your feet a little bit better, so that you're not wasting time just sitting there in silence while you try to come up with a story or a time to match the question that you're being asked. I also was fortunate enough to know a faculty here at CU, so I sat down with him and asked him like, hey, like, what do you guys look for in a student? And kind of talked to him about the stuff that mattered to me, and got direction from him about what I should lean into in my interview and what I shouldn't. So find all the resources you can and practice. But also just be confident that you got an interview for a reason. They see something in you that they like. So I think confidence goes a long way instead of just being scared and intimidated, because that will show through as well. So practice, confidence, and know what those interviews are going to look like, so that you can be confident and practice appropriately for each interview. Okay, I am back. I actually just got back from dinner with some of my friends. We had our Galentine's. But before I called it quits for the night, I wanted to try to answer a few more of the questions. So the next one is, why did you pick your school? I think I got into this a little bit at the start of this video, but my main factor was just the fact that CU has always been my dream school, and it's in-state. So I guess the biggest deciding factor for me was the fact that I know that Colorado is where I want to be long-term. This is where I'd love to start a practice. So being able to go to school and begin building my network in the state that I want to practice in was really, really important to me. Beyond that, I think what drew me to CU was the faculty. And I think I touched on this with my interview tips, and my experience is just that interview alone really affirmed that these are the kind of people that I want guiding me, mentoring me, and teaching me and helping me become the dentist I want to be. They just, you could tell they cared so much about getting to know you, and that doesn't stop once you're here. I definitely feel like all of these faculty that we have just really want us to succeed, and they're just so open to answering any questions you have, meeting with you for coffee to talk about pretty much anything. So that was just a huge part of this. And then CU actually also offers in your 4th year something called the ACTS program. So that gives you the ability to travel around the state. You do rotations, and you get to experience a whole host of different clinics all around Colorado. You can end up in more rural areas, and it's just the opportunity to practice more autonomously, and really get a feel for what it's like to be a dentist doing the thing. You're not at the school. You're kind of, it's almost like a crash course in getting to be a dentist. So that's something that I was really excited about, and that I felt was really going to help make me confident and competent when I left. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to. In terms of my applications, I applied to, I think I ended up applying to about 11 schools. And just for all of those reasons I just talked about, I think there's not very many schools that have a program like the ACTS program. And then obviously nothing else could offer me the opportunity to build the network in the place that I want to be long term. Okay, so in terms of actually starting dental school and that whole transition, I think right off the bat, I wouldn't be doing anybody any justice if I didn't admit straight up that it's a hard transition. There's just nothing like dental school, I don't think, at least not in my experience, that's going to prepare you for dental school and just how rigorous it is. You are truthfully, like, people are not joking when they say you're kind of drinking from a fire hose. So I think the best thing that I did for myself was just coming into it expecting this to be hard. Not expecting myself to fail, because I think there's a difference, but being prepared to work really hard, being prepared for it to not be easy, being prepared for the reality that sometimes it was really gonna stink to be here, just because you are hitting the pavement running. I think what's interesting, and actually I was talking to a 3rd year yesterday, well, after I was done assisting her, and she said that the first semester of dental school is content-wise not the worst, but the class load is so much and there's so much content, and I mean, it's definitely harder content than undergrad, but compared to some of the content that comes later, it's not the worst it's gonna get, but it's meant to test you and also prove to you that you are capable of juggling what dental school is. So there were definitely moments that I was so overwhelmed, was calling my mom on a regular basis, I'm not afraid to admit it, just really struggling. And again, it tests you in such a big way, but I think it also helped me grow so much. I'm so different from the person I was when I walked into dental school, and it's kind of crazy how quickly you evolve and become this different person, in a good way. This is all necessary growth. Emotionally, I feel like I'm much more mature than I was when I came in, and these are all things that I'm so grateful for. Imposter syndrome is very real. No matter how much you come to terms with, like, I deserve to be here, I've worked hard, they wouldn't have brought me in here if they didn't think I could do it, it's gonna happen. And I think the best piece of advice I can give you for that is just don't compare yourself to anybody. This is your journey. It's about you and your growth. And I think comparing yourself to other people is where imposter syndrome really thrives. You're gonna have so many classmates that have different backgrounds than you. I never assisted, but I have lots of classmates who have, so their base knowledge was already so much more. I was a business major. There were a lot of people who were strict science majors, so their background in the sciences, which we were taking classes in last semester, were a lot stronger than mine. But I had to constantly just try to remind myself, and it helps having a solid support system. So highly recommend just leaning into your support system, your family, your friends outside of dental school, who can be there for you, because your dental school friends are going to be going through it too, and it's awesome to have those people who understand it, but it's really, really important to have people outside of it who have the emotional energy and capacity to be able to be there for you in ways that maybe someone going through the same thing might not always be able to. So really just lean into that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And remember that you're here for a reason, and it is going to be hard, and it's okay if everything isn't perfect all the time. You don't grow from being perfect all the time. You grow from making mistakes. And so this is the place to just really lean into that, because you want to be as competent as possible when you leave dental school. And the only way to make sure you're that competent is to fail a few times. So in terms of a typical day for a first year in dental school, our days look very different this semester than they did last semester. Like I mentioned before, first semester is pretty hectic. I want to say we took a total of 13 classes in a single semester, and they started at different times throughout the semester, ended at different times. There were some that lasted from start to finish of the entire length of the semester. Others started later and ended at the end of the semester. Some started at the beginning and ended partway through. So it's kind of all over the place. I can't say for sure that our schedule is always super consistent. I think most days we were probably getting going around 8 a.m. I don't think we have very many days that were 8 to 5s. This semester is a little more consistent. We're definitely taking fewer classes. So most days we are starting class at 8 a.m. Our Tuesdays and Thursdays are much more relaxed. Thursdays we only have a 2-hour radiology lab. And then Fridays we have an asynchronous radiology class unless we have an exam, then we're in person. And then we also have our oral histology class for 2 hours from 10 to 12. So it's much more consistent. Some days are busier than others, especially depending on what you choose to do in addition to the normal classwork. Today was pretty busy for me. I was on campus from 6:45 a.m. until 3, and then we had a Zoom class in interprofessional education from 3 to 5. So that's where we work with students from the other health profession schools on campus, med students, nursing students, PA, PT, pharmacy, and we just work on trying to work as a healthcare team. So yeah, I think we have more 8 to 5 days, and you just kind of learn to ebb and flow with the schedule, because like I said, not every day is going to be the same. Not every day is an 8 to 5 day, but we do have more of those this semester. I think in terms of outside of class, like what I do to kind of catch a break, I guess, a breather, relax a little bit, I just like to hang out with friends. That is my main relief. I have a standing dinner date at In-N-Out with 2 of my friends here, so that's a nice way that every single week when Wednesday night comes, that's our thing to do to kind of celebrate getting through the hard part of the week. When the weather's nice outside, there's a lot of us that like to head over onto campus and play volleyball on our green in the quad. That's always fun. You have a lot of options with Denver too. So outside of school on weekends, Denver's so close that getting downtown is kind of a normal thing for us, just getting out and hanging out. We're also pretty close to the mountains, so every now and then when you have a free weekend, going up to the mountains just to hang out is fun. It's obviously winter and it's actually snowing right now, so I can imagine quite a few of my classmates for this next long weekend will be getting up to the mountains to ski. I personally don't ski, but I do love going up to the mountain towns just to hang out and have a day. And other than that, I'm very much a low-key, watch a movie with friends, have a wine night kind of gal. So it's really just about whatever helps you relax, and just making sure that you make time to do that. Alright, so this next question is, what makes you most excited about going to your school? I feel like I've raved about CU so much already. Gosh, I think what makes me most excited is just the fact that I'm here. I have spent so long dreaming about this, thinking about it, wondering what it would be like. Honestly, wondering if I was being crazy by not even considering anything else basically my entire life. So truthfully, I'm just like, I'm so blessed and so fortunate to get to do this, to have the opportunity to study something I've been passionate about for so long, to be working towards my doctorate in dentistry. It's hard not to be excited about that. Even when things are hard, I feel like so many people get asked in dental school how dental school is going, and your first reaction is, well, it's really freaking hard. But every single person that I know, myself included, it's always finished with, but I love it. I'm so happy to be here. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. Just in general, I think what makes me so happy about being at CU is being so close to my family, having my support system so close by. The fact that I'm at my dream school, I can't get over that sometimes. And just the fact that I feel so supported by this school. They really want us to succeed. They don't want anybody to not be able to pursue this career. They don't want anybody to not be able to be a dentist, because we're all here because we're crazy passionate about it. And that you really see that in your classmates. So I guess that's another thing that makes me excited about being here, is being around so many people who get it, get what I've always loved so much, because I didn't grow up around a lot of people, if any, really, that I remember that wanted to do this. So just the fact that I know 80 or 79 in my own class, and then more outside of my class, people who are that kind of weird like I am, I don't know how you don't get excited about that. All right, I am on to answer the final question. I had a pretty crazy day yesterday. I was traveling. I'm actually in California right now, helping my brother move into his new apartment and just spend some time with him and see some friends, which, if I could recommend anything while you're in dental school, is find opportunities to, get out of town when you can, when you have some free time, and go see, the people outside of dental school that give you energy, that fill you up. It's so important to make sure that you're, getting out of the school environment every now and then. Otherwise, it gets pretty easy to get bogged down. The last question was my biggest piece of advice for pre-dents for you guys. I think there's probably a couple. Number one being, don't be discouraged. Pre-dent is hard. It really is. The application process, hard. Not getting into some of the schools that you want to get into is hard. I think you have to remember that you are going to end up where you're supposed to. And if you are meant to be a dentist, then nothing's going to stop you. Something will fall into place, even if it takes more time than you originally planned for. I mentioned earlier, I thought I'd be going straight in from undergrad, ended up taking 2 gap years, and I'm just so happy to be here when I'm here. The timing has felt so right. I feel so prepared to be here, but timing is different for everybody, so keep that in mind. And second piece of advice is listen to your heart when it comes to schools you're choosing, where you're applying, all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's really easy to get into the nitty-gritty of what's the best program, or just stuff like that, where people are maybe telling you things about going to more prestigious schools or what have you. I think end of the day, you are going to walk out a dentist, and truthfully, as long as you're putting in the work, I don't think there's very many programs that won't help you accomplish that, won't help you accomplish being a great dentist. So with that, I think also just staying true to what matters to you, applying to schools and attending a school that is in a place where you'll be happy outside of, you know, the schoolwork outside of campus, because like I've said in a bunch of these other questions, is dental school gets hard. So you gotta love where you are. So really just truthfully follow your heart, and I don't think anything will steer you wrong when you choose to do that. All right, well, that is it for me. I want to say a huge thank you and shout out to FutureDDS for reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of this series. I think it's amazing. I wish I would have found stuff like this when I was a pre-dent. So I just really hope that all the answers I provided for you guys were enlightening, inspiring, providing information that you needed, that maybe you didn't know you needed. I'm just so grateful that I was able to share with you guys my experience, how things are at CU. Seriously, I couldn't recommend CU enough. I know what I just said in my last answer, but truthfully, I think you won't go wrong if you choose to check out CU. And if you do, definitely let me know. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I actually have a dental Instagram page. So you can give me a follow on there, DM me at any time, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I try to keep an eye on my DMs for sure, but yeah, just reach out to me. My Instagram handle for my dental page is Becoming Dr. J Des. So just Becoming DRJDEZ. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for sticking through to the end of this. Bye.